standing next to this window, as I already mentioned, that this place was taken by the Germans. They took over, had their, first of all, their soldiers. Later on, they brought prisoners who will be the one to build Birkenau. Now, as it was only for soldiers and it was for Polish army, of course they didn't have any gas chamber here. But when the Germans took over, they built first a gas chamber which was what we say on the ground. And this was too small because it could gas only 5,000 a day. Later on, when they took the Jews, I mean the prisoners, from Auschwitz I, moved them to Birkenau to build the camp and the gas chambers, I said the transports came there, and there it was very efficient because 18,000 Jews could have been killed in one day. And this is how it worked. The trains stopped, if you can imagine, just behind this building. There were the railway tracks. The trains stopped there, and everybody was schnell, quickly. They had to come off the train. The selection took place on the ramp. We are going to see it later on in Birkenau. 70%, and these people here are the 70%. They are going to be sent now to the gas chambers. There were 4 gas chambers. Number 2, 3, 4, and 5. Because number 1 was here in Auschwitz I. It was too small. We'll see it later. Now, people are walking with their children, mothers, fathers, grandparents, holding each other. They don't know where they are going to. Some of them saw a red fire coming out of the chimneys, and those who were smart enough could even smell. But you don't think. We all have what we call we have a self-defense system. No, it's not so bad. It can't be. Denial, exactly. So they had to go a few steps down. Everything took place in what we call like a shelter, a basement. They opened the ground for us, the ceiling, so that we can see. 3,000 men, women, and children were taken in one time in these huge underground basement. They had to get undressed, and I say again, at that point, again breaking the spirit. Can you imagine? You don't have to be frum to feel embarrassed when you have to get undressed and men are there. And women had to get undressed, and children who never saw their mothers naked had to be around. All the mother could do at that moment is to hug your child and give her the feeling that it's only showers and later on they'll go somewhere. At that point, undressing, cutting the hair, and if they didn't do it before, they would do it after, because the hair was very much needed, and I'll explain in a minute forward. And later on, they would take them into showers, and they were all showered with hot water, very hot water. Can you imagine, or tell me why? Why did they bother if they're going to kill them? For sure it wasn't just to clean them. So it had another reason why they showered them with hot water. Any idea?
Wait, that's a Syrian shower.
What?
So that it should believe in a Syrian shower.
But in very short time, they are all going to be gassed anyway, so why bother even lie to them?
Pain.
For pain? No, it's not burning hot.
Opening the pores.
יפה מאוד. It's opening, באמת, לפתוח את התאים, opening the pores. And the idea was, they realized, they said that they already took lessons from other camps, that it took longer if they didn't do it. If someone is very tired, what do we tell him? Take a hot shower. What would a hot shower do? You know, the oxygen, the blood will work faster. And this is what happened here. As the pores would open, the gas would absorb back, yeah? And it would work quicker. The idea was just to make the procedure work quick. After they were watered with hot water, they were all told to go into another room. 90 degrees, if you see the other room, And this one, they had to go in with their hands up. Why with their hands up? To squeeze in more people. And you see that it's very crowded. Of course, the sea, it was underground, it was a basement. It had two small like chimneys or places open. The Germans would put masks, special masks, and they would, two officers would go there, would throw in two boxes, which you will see behind you in a minute, with Cyclone B. This Cyclone B was really the gas. It's a chemical reaction that the cyclone, when it comes with air or CO2, it becomes cyanide. Cyanide?
Yes.
Cyanide. And not only that it kills in 15 minutes so quickly, it has a side effect. And the side effect is that it's hurting the nervous system of the body. It's like if a mother was holding her daughter, she was stuck with her daughter like this. And we have these testimonies from the Sonderkommando, who had to go inside after 15 minutes. They would open up the doors, leave it open so that the gas would somehow go out, and the Sonderkommando had to bring up the bodies to the ground floor, to special tables. In some occasions, they took out the golden teeth. If they didn't cut the hair, they did it then, and then they would put the bodies in the ovens. I said not all of them because it didn't work so quickly because of the problems they had with the ovens. But we have the testimonies from the Sonderkommando telling us that they found parents holding their children on the top. And you can all imagine why, because it was so crowded here that they were afraid that someone would step on the children. So they said they couldn't think. The whole procedure I'm now describing could take an hour. From the time they came off the train, by the time they were gone. You cannot really think, oh, did they know? And if they knew, could they do something? It all went chip-chap. It was so quickly that before they really realized what happened, they were not there. Later on, in the beginning, 42, 43, there wasn't even time to tell to each other. Later on, they used workers, the Greeks, the Polish Jews and others, to work as Sonderkommando. Just a few months ago, I took a course. I take courses all the time about the Holocaust, as if I don't know enough. And we met a person from VID7 who was a worker in the Sonderkommando. And his children and his grandchild, who was a pilot in the Israeli army, sat next to him. I cannot describe the feeling that we were there, guys, to see a person who was in the Sonderkommando. It wasn't so proud to say, I was in the Sonderkommando. You can imagine why. Not that people volunteered. Because the Germans said, you and you. And the Sonderkommando worked for 3 months, and then they were killed by the Germans, not to be able to tell the others, because those who were chosen to be Sonderkommando didn't come back to sleep in the regular barracks. They slept next to the crematoriums, and they were separated from the others. So we found, just in the, not we, historians and others found bottles with testimonies that were put pieces of papers, like toilet papers, and testimonies that those Sonderkommando put in bottles and kept it in walls, just for history. And it was found, and just a year ago, I have this piece of paper that one from France, they still are alive. One in France, one in Poland, and one in Holland. Those were a bunch of 17 guys in a certain, they put their names on these bottles and their signs of what was going on here. So just behind you, you will see these boxes of Cyclone B. They were big boxes and small. These are the small ones. In my dining, you see the big one. And look how it looks. It looks like white pieces of stone